All right, all right. Let's see. All right, here I am. Whew. It has been a long day. It's been a long day. But I'm gonna get in here real quick because I've been procrastinating on the research, you know. Feels like we need to read about some hard-hitting isopod stuff. So, today kind of got a little bit of fun things going on. I want to hit up this research paper about aquatic isopods and if they can possibly help with fish eggs. And I want to do a community fish tier list. I thought would be kind of funny to do. And I don't know if I'll get to the third thing, actually. That might be cap. I don't know. I'm a little bit tired. So we will see as far as that goes. But I'm at least committed to those two things, I believe. So we're going to get into this paper real quick here. And that should be a good time. So hold up a second, and we're going to dive into it. I will tell you the title of the paper. We have one. Can isopods help biological control by removing dead fish eggs in fish hatcheries? We have Acellus aquaticus removal on fertilized eggs. Yeah. I like that one. And then there's one from the other year. I'm trying to find it. I thought it was from 2024. You know, I'm not the best at reading sometimes. So, alright. Let me pause this because I can't even think. And I'm getting an ad anyway. And let me go into bam, ResearchGate. That's the homie. That's ResearchGate. All right. Go ahead and let's do the PDF. Actually, you know what? Fine. I'll read it straight from the website. Just to keep things simple. Cuz basically when I first got into the aquatic isopods, like one of the main reasons was I was trying to figure out what are some like ways in nature or some just like kind of biological method to help with fish eggs, like when they're fungusing or when there's a dead one. Because, you know, some people say use snails, and other people say use small shrimp. But then they also say when those snails or shrimp get too big, then you want to take them out because, like, then maybe they're eating the eggs. To me, it's too much to think about, honestly. It's way too much to think about. So I'd rather just not. And I was looking for things that what would eat dead eggs but not eat viable eggs. And that's when I came across this research paper. And holy, can we get a zoom in? How am I supposed to read this? Like, truly. Am I truly supposed to read this? Okay. All right. So, you know, it's kind of like research. It's like group research. Can aquatic isopods protect fish eggs? I'm just kind of going to go through the way I normally would and read a research paper the best that I can. So I'm not exactly a scientist, but I can read a few words. You know what I mean? So let's see what's going on here. So starting with the abstract, the aim of the present experimental study was to better understand the foraging behavior of Acellus aquaticus. Different numbers of A. aquaticus were introduced into different experimental setups of unfertilized eggs, viable eggs, hatch larvae of Danio. The number and time of A. aquaticus significantly affected the ratio of non-fertilized eggs in each experimental cycle. A. aquaticus belongs to blah, blah, blah. No predatory behavior was observed during the experience. Now, this got my attention immediately. See, that's what I like to hear. No predatory behavior was observed during the experience. When you're talking about like some fish eggs, yeah, that is what you want to hear. There was no predatory behavior. So already, for me, my purposes, I'm like, I want something that's gonna eat the dead eggs. This is already seeming kind of promising. So, the no predatory behavior was observed in experiments. They were able to distinguish between the dead eggs and those containing live embryos. Additionally, zebrafish larvae were not harmed by A. aquaticus, even when there was not an alternative food source. So they put the A. aquaticus in a container with some eggs. It sounds like they didn't eat any viable eggs, and they also did not predate upon the fry. So, like I said, we're out to a good start. Even when there was not an alternative food source, so they basically starved them. The results help to understand the potential sanitary role of these crustaceans in natural waters and provide new insight into their possible application as biological control organism in aquaculture hatcheries. Finally, our results indicate that there is a potential for A. aquaticus application against pathogens by reducing bacterial and fungal growth substrates. Let's freaking go. Okay. Now, that's just kind of like the teaser. That's the introduction. Okay. Let's see what that abstract. Now we're in the real introduction. Let's see. Hatching success of fish eggs depends on many factors in nature and in commercial fish producing systems as well. Among other genetic compatibilities, maternal and ova characteristics, spermatozoa mobility, and sperms to egg ratio play a significant role in fertilization success and hatching rate of fish embryos. Besides the internal biological features, environmental factors such as optimal temperature, salinity, predators, chemical pollutants, and diseases are all crucial factors for sufficient hatching rate. And this is the part that is relevant to our purposes. Bacteria and fungal infections are a primary concern during the incubation period of fish eggs, especially in aquaculture hatcheries. And they list the specific pathogens here. So if you know your pathogens, you might recognize these. They're commonly found in water systems. The mucus layer of eggs appears to be a good substrate for adhesion and colonization by many of these pathogens. So that's kind of unfortunate that eggs happen to be a good substrate, as they say, for fish eggs. Fish eggs, so good substrate for these pathogens. That's a little bit unfortunate and explains why we have so many issues with fish eggs fungusy. It's generally observed that appearance of pathogens correlates with the proportion of unfertilized eggs. However, it's possible the increased growth of bacteria and fungi is a result of, and not necessarily a cause of, increased dead fish eggs. On the other hand, dead fish may promote the spread, blah, blah, blah. Alright, so basically it's saying, obviously unfertilized eggs, they die, they fungus over. Then go materials and methods. I don't want to go too long on, but okay. So they go over the methods. So they use zebrafish, a wild zebrafish strain for the experiment. The Acellus aquaticus were collected from experimental recirculating aquaculture system designed for fish broodstock housing. So they just had these guys like living in their water system already. That's convenient. I hope they get there one day. Okay. Propagation, egg collection. Okay, so they're going over. They had 5 zebrafish females with 5 males in each breeding tank. Following protocol. The experiment was carried out in a sterile, flat bottom, non-treated multi-well plates with a lid. Okay. Prior to the experiments, Acellus aquaticus specimens were starved in each well for 24 hours. Eggs fertilized and unfertilized were introduced into the wells in differing ratios at 24 hours post-fertilization. Okay, so they starved the A. aquaticus, the isopods. They threw them in there, and then the eggs were put in unfertilized and fertilized 24 hours after fertilization. All right, every well contained 1 biological filtration media, which provide a hiding place for A. aquaticus in order to provide identical experimental conditions. The control were wells without A. aquaticus, and they contain the same media. All right, so they set up a bunch of different things. Let's see what the varying factors they had set up. All right, so here we have our multivariate analysis of variance. So each in which the number of fertilized eggs containing living embryos, the number of non-fertilized dead eggs, and the number of hatched larvae were considered as dependent variables, and hours and the number of A. aquaticus were considered factors. I'm trying to remember my research, like study like stuff from back in the day about what dependent variables are and factors. I think that going off of, okay, there's no variance in larva data, therefore multi-factorial. Okay, so a multifactorial thing performed in which the number of unfertilized dead eggs was considered a dependent variable, and the hours and the numbers of A. aquaticus were considered to be factors. All right, then they have the formula they use to transform that. And then we have the result. All right, so we got the wells. They put in the eggs. They put in different amounts of A. aquaticus and some fertilized and unfertilized eggs. So let's see what happens. So in the first experiment, the number of unfertilized eggs in wells containing A. aquaticus continuously decreased after the first 5 hours. However, some unfertilized eggs disappeared from the wells of the control group as well. So unfertilized eggs disappeared when there was no isopods and also when there were isopods with them. The number of remaining eggs was statistically different between A. aquaticus containing and control wells, with disparity between the two groups increasing with time. So there were the control, which had nothing in it, just the filter and the eggs, had eggs disappear, but it was a different amount than the one that had the isopods in it. And the longer that they left them there, the more the difference between the two grew. In the second experiment, the number of unfertilized eggs continuously decreased after the first 5 hours in A. aquaticus containing wells. The decreasing ratio of unfertilized eggs deepened according to the number of A. aquaticus specimens in the well. So this is looking pretty positive. So the more isopods they had in there, the ratio of unfertilized eggs continued to deepen. The number of eggs were statistically different between the experimental groups, and this difference increased with time. The first larvae were hatched in the 30th hour in every experimental group. So in all the groups, no matter how many isopods, the first larvae were in the 30th hour. However, the hatching process was more dynamic in the A. aquaticus groups compared to the control groups. Not sure what that means. Let's see. In the third experiment, similar to the previous experiments, the number of unfertilized eggs continuously decreased from the 5th hour in A. aquaticus containing wells. A. aquaticus did not harm the non-swimming free larvae. Okay, that's great. And there was no natural mortality detected. Thus, all introduced larvae survived the experiment period independent from the number of isopods. So whether they're isopods or not, the larvae survived. The isopods did not slaughter them. Fantastic. All right. So what does this mean? They need to talk to me a little bit here so I can feel my level of confidence rise that this is a good idea to throw a bunch of isopods with my fish eggs. So fungal and bacterial infection of fish eggs is a common issue in aquaculture hatcheries and in my house, where the I'm not even good. I give up. Implementation of prevention measures are key factors in successful propagation. So despite preventive measures, fungus and bacteria almost always shows up. To mitigate the harmful effects, the removal of dead eggs is essential. Mechanical picking of eggs in salmon at the eyed up level led to a decrease in bacteria numbers, but the process is obviously, very labor intensive. So they're looking for other ways, and that's what leads us to this experiment. In the classical approach of biological control, predators and parasitoids are used, which target the pathogens or pests themselves. I want to look up the word parasitoids real quick, because what the hell? I know. Okay, parasitoids are organisms that live in or on other organisms called the host and eventually kill it. Okay, let's look at another word for parasite. The first attempts at chemical-free control of this kind of parasites using two invertebrates were reported. Both invertebrates improved the survival rates of fungal growth. However, Gamera showed predation on live eggs and larvae. See, what we all knew, scuds are menaces. Look at that. Yeah, we know the Gamera showed predation on live eggs and larvae, so they're eating the fish fried too. Our knowledge is scarce about the presence and significance of this phenomenon in natural fish stocks. Oh, I think I'm zoomed in a little bit so you guys can't see the full. There we go. In natural fish stocks, the scraping strategy of Acellus aquaticus makes it possible to ingest mycelia selectively from the surface of dead organic materials. I'm just going to define mycelia. Mycelia are the root-like structures of fungi that make up the thread-like hyphae. Let's look up this word, hyphae. Hyphae is the branching filaments that make up the roots of the fungus. Okay, cool. So because the isopods can kind of like scrape, I guess similar to like how the nearite snails, they can eat certain things that like hard spot algae because they can scrape. The scraping strategy of the isopods makes it possible for them to eat the roots of the fungus from the surface of dead organic material. They conducted feeding preference experiments with the isopods, and this guy found they preferred detritus that is already partially digested by microbial communities and fungus. So yeah, they're detritivores. They like things dead. I mean, hey, you like what you like, right? Possible causes could... I mean, I like peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwiches. Some people don't agree with that. Possible causes could be that fungi can eliminate the allelopathic chemicals of plants, and through partial digestion, they can make detritus more utilizable for the detritivores, which can then also use the fungal enzyme system to degrade organic materials. It's all coming together. Fungi also enrich the feed with their own micro and macronutrient content. All right. In this study, our theory on how the isopods eliminate the fungus roots is threefold. First, they are theorizing that they're going to find that they directly graze on the surface of the eggs as part of their natural feeding strategy. And then secondly, that by consuming the dead eggs, it'll be observable, so they'll see them consume the dead eggs and notice that there's more eggs consumed when the isopods are around than when they're not. And third, they're actually theorizing that due to the movements and feeding activity of the isopods, physical damage could result in disappearing eggs, as we observed in the study. All right, we believe the chiron is harmed in these cases, and fluid organic material rapidly diluted in the water, thus preventing the eggs from serving as a substrate for fungal growth. Okay, so even just them moving around and stuff is potentially helpful. The results of our study show that the feeding habits of Acellus aquaticus mitigate infection and prevent fertilized eggs from being entangled in fungal mycelium. So keeps them from getting caught up in the roots of the fungus. In contrast to classical biological control, we studied a different approach to biological prevention. Instead of measures like chemical and others aimed at the elimination of pests or diseases, our focus was on the preventative elimination of the substrate of sapphirite fungi or bacteria. So if you remember before, they said that the actual outer membrane of the eggs they found to be a great substrate for fungus and bacteria growth. So their whole thing here is like, instead of trying to, treat the problem when it shows up or whatever, can we prevent it by putting these things in here that are going to eat the fungus and stuff? All right, during our experiments, none of the hatch larvae were harmed by the isopods, even if no other feed source was provided for 48 hours. Other researchers found the same, that aquatic specimens, as opposed to other crustaceans like scuds, do not cause harm to fish larvae. That's another point for isopods, man. Scuds are trash. However, it's witnessed that hatching occurs faster in the presence of Aquaticus. Most likely, this is due to the abrasion of shells due to the movement and feeding activity of crustaceans. This phenomenon did not correlate with the number of Acellus aquaticus per well, and this could be beneficial in a way. So that's another reason why I was interested in this, because I do a lot of killifish, and Well, not a lot. I don't want to make it sound like I'm, I'm more successful with that. But a problem you can have with them is that like the eggshells can be hard, and the fry have a hard time like breaking out, especially if your water's not soft enough. Like that's one reason why some eggs are like they'll have a hard time hatching if the water isn't soft enough because like they can't get through the eggshell. And methylene blue can exacerbate that. Like it can make eggshells harder. So I one of my reasons I wanted to look into this is when I saw that I was like, okay, if they actually also not only eat dead eggs, help prevent the fungus on viable eggs, but maybe they help the eggs hatch or even hatch faster. Okay, then that would be great. This phenomenon did not correlate with the number of A. aquaticus per well. This could be beneficial in a way as shortened incubation time also reduces the chance of fungal infections. Okay, so yeah, the less amount of time the egg's just sitting there, the less chance it has to get wrecked. I mean, sure. Uh, shorter incubation often Though shorter incubation often results in smaller, weaker larvae or limited hatching rate, we observe this phenomenon without the loss of larvae. This possible effect should be considered if implementing A. aquaticus into a water system, but significance is dependent on species and water temperature. Yeah, like the character of an egg really does vary a lot by fish. Like how sticky it is, how hard it is, how easy it is to damage it. Our results have shown that the elimination of dead eggs by A. aquaticus in the case of large-scale incubation is limited. Okay. Repeated inoculations of isopods containing large numbers are required to replace manual egg. So it's not like one isopod is going to be chowing down on the eggs, basically. You're going to need a good amount of them to really make a difference in replacing, having someone go by hand removing dead eggs. You're going to need like a bunch of isopods. So a more feasible application of this could be semi-natural spawning of endangered fish species and high-value ornamental fish. All right. So the conclusion, according to the results of the current study, A. aquaticus can distinguish between fertile and unfertile eggs and are able to eliminate or reduce the number of dead eggs, which could be media for bacterial and fungal growth. We found that A. aquaticus does not harm eggs containing viable embryos and larvae, even when alternative food sources are not available. And they recommend the use of the isopods for biological prevention in special cases when small-scale egg incubation and larva rearing are carried out at the same place, which is basically what most people at home are doing. So that's the end of the paper. I just thought that was really interesting. I wanted to start with that, get myself warmed up. We're trying, so many people are so interested in getting into more natural aquariums and all this kind of stuff. How far can we take that? Can we look at more biological controls for things like parasites, for things like fungus on fish eggs? So, hey, a little bit of food for thought there. I definitely have been experimenting with this myself, and so far, what they kind of talk about in this paper, I have definitely seen myself. And now I'm going to do this community fish tier list because it's got to be done. And it's not going to be the last one I make because my opinion changes. But just, kind of right now, I'm feeling like I want to revisit how I'm feeling about some fish. I just want to get this out of my system. So I'm going to pull up this tier list here real quick. Community fish tier list. Where's my little tab? Here we are. All right. So, community fish tier list. I just want to kind of set some criteria. All right. What are we looking for to judge this by? So this is my personal opinion. This is what I judge the community fish on. Okay, one, it's gotta have some amount of aesthetic appeal. Okay, it's gotta look cool enough to justify being in the tank, and that's gonna be personal preference. The other thing that is crucial in a community fish is that it's not gonna slaughter all the other fish that are in the aquarium. Okay, I think that is pretty that's pretty on there. And also, you probably wouldn't want a community fish that is super shy, but it's not necessarily a requirement for it to be a good community fish. Miley, yo, sailfish is top tier. Oh, what's up, Miley? Serious? How's it going? Is it top tier? I mean, we're gonna find out. What's your argument for being top tier? That's my question. That's my question. 'Cause I know where I'm gonna start. I know what fish I'm starting with. Okay, and it's in my my passionate graphic design thumbnail. It's like the only real fish in there. Ah, yeah, the neon tetra. One second, I gotta choose my file. Hold up. Hey, is it really gonna do this to me? I can't just drag it in. Okay, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Clownfish, tetras are C tier. Now hold up a second. Hold up. Yeah. Sailfish, maybe not. We might agree more on the tetras than depending on the tetra. All tetras are not created equal. I'm not going to do that to them and just in generalize. Like there's definitely some tetras that I like, but there are also some tetras that I don't necessarily find to be worth the tank space. Quite honestly, I mean, let's not sugarcoat things, and that's why I'm starting with this fish. Okay, that's why I'm starting with this fish. So, neon tetra. Look, the neon tetra, it's a C tier fish for me. All right, and here's why. I know it's popular. I know it's like a staple fish, and I'm someone that I do tend to like kind of more offbeat fish, so I'm partially just like being a total like hipster, like those aren't even cool, like those are. But look, I don't find them to be particular. Like how hardy they are really seems to depend on your water, since they're a black water fish actually, and I don't really like that they look like one of those frozen popsicle sticks. And then they're not that friendly. Like they are kind of nippy and boring. They don't really have any behaviors that are that interesting to me. And I just think that like it's a seriously overrated fish. Um, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. So neon tetras, that's a C tier fish as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's the case where you like them, but I just can't get with it. The next fish I want to do is the crebensis. I'm kind of biased here because I have a few different crebensis that I keep, but it's a hard one. It's a hard one. They're a really good community fish in the sense that they don't really bother any of your other, like if you're trying to like build a layered tank, like they're great to be at the bottom. They're not going to bother anything that's like kind of swimming above. So like to me, they're automatically like A tier, because you always want a dwarf cichlid that isn't too aggressive, that you can have in there, and then you layer in it. They're at the bottom, and they have that good parent thing, so you can have them breed and have their kids. But that's where things get tricky, because how good of a community fish is gonna really depend on your setup. Because if they start breeding and they're in like a 20 long and there's not a lot of sight lines and stuff, they might not be a good community fish depending on your pair, because they might chase everything away forever. And then at that point, you're sitting there and they're like more like a B tier community fish. Like honestly, like cribs breeding and you don't have enough space for them, like they could be in the B tier. But then when you look at the other end where you have them like a 40 breeder and you got some like schooling fish in the middle and whatever going on top, and they have plenty of space, so if they do chase something it just swims up and it's fine. Like then to me, depending on the crib, because there's a bunch of them, that's arguably S tier. That's arguably S tier for me. Oh, Jesse Bear says those are S tier. See, that's what I'm saying. So the only thing that's like kind of like wondering if it should just go to the A tier is just because, well, they can be like aggressive when breeding, but like if you have enough space, what's the problem, right? So I'm gonna be honest. As far as community fish go, part of that is you got to layer the tank. You got to have your bottom dwellers, you know, and these are dwarf cichlids, and the list of good community dwarf cichlids is stereotypically short. So I think I agree, Jesse. I think it's S tier. I think they're S tier, for sure, for sure. Okay. Now the next one is another popular fish, much more popular than the cribs are even. And I'm gonna have to take a freaking screenshot of it because this thing's not letting me download the picture. I should have had these all loaded up ahead of time. The bristlenose pleco. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Good community fish in the sense they're not going to slaughter everything, right? They're not going to kill every single thing in your aquarium. Sure, check. Aesthetic appeal, that's where it... Bro, you said A tier already, bro. You don't... Listen, I don't think it's C tier. It's not C tier. It's B tier minimum. But the problem is there's a lot of ugly plecos. There's a lot of ugly pleco. This is a bristlenose pleco, but I'm just gonna put all the plecos in one bunch, even though that's not fair. But like in general, there's a lot of ugly plecos. There's a lot of variance in how much they hide, but like just off the fact they don't often kill or slaughter all your other fish, like okay, they at least belong in B tier. But like the aesthetic category, I think is bringing them down a little bit, and then like the usefulness is also like they're at the bottom, but like or do they have utility in your tank? But then again, there's some really nice plecos out there, but I just think that there's nicer bottom. I think there's nicer fish like them that are better, and that's why I don't want to put them in the A tier, because I just think that there are fish that deserve that tier much more than they do. Honestly, like they're not even that bad, but in my opinion, there's so many fish that are better. So I'm putting plecos in the B tier, and you know, you can fight me on it. I'm sorry. It had to be done, Jesse. It had to be done. They clean the tank. I agree. You agree with the A, or you agree with the... See, but they clean them cleaning the tank is like, it depends. What do you have in your tank? Do you have the kind of algae they eat? Like, I don't find them to be great. Oh, the hard B. Okay, yeah, I don't find them to be great tank cleaners. And there's too much variance with all the different L numbers. Like, I gotta have a goddamn biological PhD just to identify the damn fish that I have. Like, you'll buy a fish, it'll be like, that's a snowball pleco or whatever, and then like some fish nerd comes up and like, that's a L300 and AB, and I'm like, okay, well, I got scammed. I feel like the aquarium industry is one of the few places where if you buy something that wasn't what you're sold it as, it's kind of just as like a, oh well, happens. Like there's no expectation for accuracy. So I mentioned there are other fish that are similar to the pleco but better, and that's why I couldn't put it in the A tier. And the next one is the reticulated hill stream loach. Okay, the reticulated hill stream loach. It looks cooler than the bristlenose, in my opinion. People always say they look like miniature stingrays, right? It looks cooler. It eats algae more, better, really good at diatoms. Cleans the glass much better. Smaller. The hill streams are smaller. You could probably have more of them without a problem. And I found them to be pretty easy to take care of. I just think that they're like plecos if plecos were cooler, cleaner, more aerodynamic. And the hill streams can like climb up waterfalls and stuff. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, they're the Chads, bro. They're Chads. Plecos are betas. I'm sorry. So the only thing is with the hill streams. Where's the cowfish? We'll get to the cowfish. I think that they're A tier, and this is why. Okay. And I didn't even say that I'd include pricing in my considerations, but I am going to, because I do think it's relevant when you're talking about building a community tank. Depending on the hill stream, like, this could really eat up your budget. You know, if you want to actually have them do some natural behavior, social interaction, you're going to need to get like 3 or 4 of them so they have a proper hierarchy. And they can be $15 to $20 a piece. And if you get one of the fancier, newer hill streams they keep coming out with, that's like $40, $30 a piece. The other thing is, like, they're not at, I think they're pretty hardy and stuff, but they're not as much of a known quantity as some other fish as far as their care goes. And I just think that some of those things keep them from being truly S tier, but then at the same time, you can keep them with shrimp. They're S tier, bro. I'm sorry. Reticulated hill stream loaves, they're S tier. Okay. We got it. We got another one, and it's another dwarf cichlid. Okay. And I'm not really sure where I'm going to land on this one, because I personally like it a lot, but I have to be honest. You know, I can't just be totally biased about every fish. So the next one that we're going to take a look at, give me 1 second, because I didn't put the photo in the right place, is Dacrossus maculatus. Can I put my landscape? Let's do landscape so I can get the full picture. There we go. Dacrossus maculatus. And that is the checkerboard cichlid. Now, I have some of these guys. When looking at the criteria for a good community fish, they're pretty peaceful. They don't get too big. They're pretty. You can do the layering. They stay at the bottom. And it's kind of like a unique, centerpiece. It is kind of a centerpiece fish, honestly. Okay, Miley says A immediately. And, okay, I think A is the lowest possible. It's the lowest possible. The coolness factor of them, like their behaviors, they have some scavenging behaviors where they go into like the substrate and they shake around like crazy to mix things up so they can pick through it, and they got some crazy dances, and they're really interactive. But I do think when they're another one like the cribs, when they're breeding, that they can be territorial. But I think that, yeah, I think that, and just the size, at least mine, the ones I have are bigger than my cribs, or at least they got bigger faster. I think that that kind of keeps them, and they're harder to take care of. Like, so I think that, yeah, I think A is good. Man, what one should I do next? Let me know if you guys ever think of any suggestions. I know what one I'm gonna do next though. And this is a fish that is becoming more popular, and I'm personally a huge fan of it. And I think most people will be familiar with it, even though it is like a newer fish as far as one becoming kind of more commonly kept. And that is Fundula panchex gardneri. Oh, tiger barbs? Okay, we'll look at some tiger barbs. Fundula panchex gardneri, steel blue killifish. I'm a killifish fan. It's a small fish. Kind of got a bigger mouth. It's very pretty, very active, not too shy. But let me tell you, although technically I would say it can be a community fish, they will eat some smaller fish. Like, I'm sorry, they will. They're kind of nasty. Yeah, they angry. They got smiles on their face, and I love them. They're good to pair with something like the crabinzas. They're both West African fish, and I've done that before, and they both bred in the tank. You know, they kind of stay at each other's way. Like, with some bigger fish, they're great community fish. But if you got like a chili rasbora, they've eaten rice. They've eaten one of my rice fish before, or even just when you first put a fish in the tank and it's stunned, angry like me. Why are you so angry, Jesse? They'll eat them. So I mean, I would feel terrible putting them in the C tier. I don't think that they're C tier. I think that they're pretty enough, and I think with some mid-sized tetras and stuff, they're fine. But yo, bro, chill. Yo, Jesse, chill. But yeah, I think it's B tier. It'll be hard for me to put a killifish in the C tier. Like, I might just be too biased for that, but at the same time, I could almost be there. I could almost be there. If there was like a B minus, I might give them a B minus. This next one might be where my opinion gets a bit more controversial, depending on how delusional you are. And that is the betta fish. Okay. Let's talk about it. It's one of the most known, most commonly kept aquarium fish, most commonly executed in pet stores aquarium fish. I just went to Petco the other day to grab a fish tank. Their betta cup wall had like 4 dead betta fish in them. You can keep them in communities. Like, I've seen people keep a betta fish in community tanks. You have the people that keep them in sororities for however long that lasts. Honestly, I don't even need to drag this out. If there was a F tier, I'd put them in it. The genetic issues, like, some of them can barely swim. They're boring. Some of them, literally, their fins are so long, they're tired all the time. You got to put a big leaf plant in there so they can take a nap constantly, because they can barely fucking move, bro. They got this one speaker I had described it as, imagine if you had a wedding dress on when you're swimming. And I was like, that is a totally accurate description, because you watch some of these guys, they swim up for like 2 seconds and then are like, all right, I'm done. This is too much work. I've been genetically engineered for too long to even do what I'm supposed to. Now, if it was wild bettas, we have a different conversation. But yeah, betta fish, grandma fish. Yeah, betta fish, boring as hell. And I really just think that they aren't a community fish worth considering. Okay? That's just my opinion. Don't execute me. But betta fish, they're just not my kind of fish. Now, something that is a little bit more my kind of fish, the chili rasbora. Chili rasbora is a small fish, great color. Not too aggressive or anything. It's too small really to be super aggressive. Tell me you just started an aquarium without telling me. Yeah, that's pretty much. Is it, the beta fish is like a good beginner fish, as in like it's the first fish that you kill like 5 of before you decide to like try and get better. Chili rasbora, I'm not gonna drag it out. I think it's A tier. Um, I might even give it an A minus if that existed. The reason is that they're actually too small in some ways. Like having chili rasbora in your community tank could limit you potentially, depending on your plans. They're just so small. They're also a little bit shyer, so it's more variance on if you actually get the benefit of having them in your tank. And they haven't been hard for me to take care of, but potentially, they're a little bit more of a variable on the health front. So I'm giving them A tier just because I'm a nano tank person. So if you're doing a nano tank, if this was specifically nano tank community fish, they're S tier. But just general community fish, I gotta give them A tier, man. I got to. Okay, let's look at now. This is a fish the first fish on the list I haven't kept. So, Miley, you're going to have to help me with this, but this is one that you mentioned, so I'm just going to bring it up here real quick. The tiger barb. And the tiger barb can kind of represent a few other similar barbs. There's a couple similar to them. Now, I already know that they have a reputation for being more nippy, right? The thing is, as we said before, community fish, one reason why the chili rasboras are bad could be a reason why these guys are good, because they're not the smallest fish ever. They can kind of stand up for themselves, and they still look really nice, really striking. You know what I mean? Supposedly, some of them eat algae and stuff, which could really bump up the ranking. But how nippy are they amongst themselves is really my question. Because as long as they're not, messing themselves up, then okay, pair them with a bigger dwarf cichlid or something that can stand up for themselves, and bam, you got a nice community tank. They're all set up. But the question is really, are they B tier? Or are they 1 tier up or lower? I think B tier is like where I would land, having not kept them, just based off what I know about them and other barbs. But depending on the information that you have, it could be A or C either way. I just need a little bit of like, tell me something about them, their temperament. Jesse says C. Oh, man. Barb hater over here. We got the Barb hater with the C. I don't know. I think they honestly look cool. I was going to say C too. Damn. All right, I'm outvoted. You guys know better than me. Barbs, I'm sorry. If you had to explain to the barbs why we put them in the C tier, Miley, just let me know so I can send them the message and explain myself when they show up to my door. USPS priority. Oh my god. Okay. This is fun. Let's do clown killifish. That's a good one. Where's my clown killifish photo? Okay, clown killifish. I don't like them. Okay. They looked at me weird. Well, we all have our lines that can't be crossed, right? Clown killifish, I'm going to go ahead and just say that it's A tier. I think they're too small to be an S tier community. Like, I think to be an S tier, you have to, like, not be easily predated upon by a large variety. Tadpole type legs. Yeah, it's a weird picture of them. The legs do kind of look like a chicken leg or something. They're just so pretty. They're pretty peaceful. Keep them with a lot of things. You can keep them with shrimp. That bumps them up. They're not like the best beginner fish necessarily because they all are smaller, and we probably should consider like ease of feeding as a community fish too in this. Mine haven't been picky, but you know, it is a consideration. So I think that the clown killifish like a comfortable A tier to me. And next, I think we're gonna do another dwarf cichlid, and I'm curious your opinions because I'm kind of conflicted on this. It could be a wide range of outcomes for me. I'm gonna take this photo from Dan's Fish. Shout out Dan's Fish. Epistogramma McMasteri. So I think epistos in general are S tier. So already that's like we're in this neighborhood. My only thing is myself and a lot of people have really had trouble keeping them alive. Like actually this episto is one of the ones I've been successful with, but like some of my like unexplainable, they cute. Yeah, they're really cool looking, they're pretty, they're peaceful. They're sensitive, man. Some of them are kind of sensitive. I wouldn't say they're like a hardy fish. You know, in a community tank, you're exposing fish to so much potential stress if your mix doesn't work out. So if they're not very stress tolerant, like you could be killing fish fast because they're getting stressed out by the different mix of fish you have. And I just think because of that, like in general, if we're planning out a tank, they could be S tier. But just general, like a fish you could throw in any community and it's gonna survive and be cool. I gotta put it in B tier. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. Okay. I can't get behind territorials. They can be kind of territorial, but it's really not that. For them, like for cichlids that small, if your tank is set up like properly or isn't a small tank, then the territorial stuff doesn't matter too much because they kind of have their corner and they're just like, hey, remember to stay back. Remember when I said don't come near my kids? And I feel like that's totally fair. You know, keep the strangers away from your kids. Totally fair. Okay, this is a Daniel. It's a nano fish technically. And it is a very popular fish. And it might be a little bit hard to place. I am talking about the CPD, photo credit to Seriously Fish. It's unsavory, not be here, period. Celestial Pearl Danio. Okay. I like these guys. Wide range of temperatures. I wouldn't say they're the most easy to feed, but they're not like that bad. Good size. Small, but like big enough when that size. They won't be predated on. They're expensive though. They can be as much as $10 a fish. It's usually sold around me for $8 to $9 a fish. And they are a fish where it's recommended that you have a group, which I mean you're doing a community tank, but you know this could be a $60 to really $100 investment for just one fish, one of the fish at the community tank that you're building. So I do think the price, like, we have to start at A because it's undeniable how not just their popularity is for a reason. But we're gonna have to talk about some of these things. The price is one thing. They can be more shy. Like you do need to have a planted tank for these guys, in my opinion. Like you do, which shouldn't. I don't think that should be a problem. I don't think anyone should object to that. But is it a centerpiece fish? That's a good point. You're gonna have 10 of them. They're your midsection, so it is kind of like a centerpiece. Say you have the cribs or hill streams on the bottom, you got them in the middle. I don't. People always look at them. They're like, "Wow, they look so great," but like, they're across the room right now. I can barely see them. I don't think that they're a centerpiece fish. They are really cool fish, really pretty fish, but it's a subtle beauty, which is fine. Like community tanks are generally more about like building they're usually show tanks. You know what I mean? Like that's usually the tank that you have the most connection to. You put the most effort in is your community tank. So is it a centerpiece fish? And definitely they can be nippy with each other if you don't have a good gender ratio. I don't know. Like, I don't think that they belong in the B tier. Oh, okay. I guess we can sort on the A tier spectrum. So I think I'm going to put them behind clown killifish. Yeah, A minus. A minus. Okay, let's do 2 more. Let's do 2 more. Cuz there's so many fish. I can do this like every now and then just to kind of check in on some different fish, how I feel about them, how everyone feels about them. And then we can just kind of like figure out who is overrated and who needs some more attention. So the next one that I'm going to do is another very popular fish. It's another cichlid. And it's one that I have technically kept it, but I don't have as much, I want to say I'm extremely knowledgeable on them. So I'm going to need some opinions here. But the fish is the angelfish. Okay. One of the most ubiquitous, with the extra ubiquitous fish in the hobby, especially as far as centerpiece fishes are concerned. And a nice angelfish does look very good in a fish tank. Are they community fish is my only question. Because how nice they can look is undeniable. It really is. Like, they can look really nice. They're not the fish for me. Miley says D. I don't think that they're D, but like, I don't like them. So I'm putting them C. You could tell when I really don't like something because like that was so easy. I was like, I don't like them. I'm putting a C. Yeah, I don't know. People keep them in communities, right? Are they that bad? They do eat a lot of things, honestly. I do hear that. So maybe C is the right place for an angelfish. Actually, maybe I'm not being too harsh. All right, fine. Okay, let's do one last one. Let me look at my list of fish here and see what I think. Oh man, there's a lot of good ones here. Oh, okay. I got one. This is gonna be funny. Okay, our last fish for tonight's tier list. Image 5? Yeah. The pea puffer fish. Now, I know what you're thinking. This this isn't a community fish at all. Why even? I think that pea puffers can be a community fish if kept properly. I do, because I've kept them in communities for about a year, and it's fine. Now, you have to have a group of them for it to really work out fine. They act significantly different when there's 6 or more of them than when there's less. But I think they're a cool community fish to have. They kind of stay at the the bottom mid really. I mean, they do explore all over, but typically for me it's more the bottom. They're very interesting. Oh, Miley says S tier. Listen, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I think they're A tier. I think pea puffers are A tier community fish. They're not very expensive. They're very relatively. I mean, it's a puffer fish. They're very cool. People always notice them, even though they're small. And as they age, they do get like a little bit bigger. They're never a huge fish, but like they definitely get, substantial where you're not gonna miss them. The complications for them being a good community fish really come in. It's less about temperament, because I think you have space, you have a group of them, then there's a lot of fish that you could keep with them. But feeding them is not something that everyone is capable of doing properly in general, but also in the community tank setting. That could be difficult. So, as much as I would like to say that they're A tier, they're curious and stupid. I know, but like the feeding aspect and just, you can't keep them with literally everything. Like, they really did not like my longfin panda cories. I had to separate them. I gotta put them in the B tier. I got to. All right. This is our final tier list for tonight. We have in the S tier, we got Crabensis, Hillstream Loaches. In the A tier, Chili Rasbora, Celestial Pole Daniels, Clown Killifish, Decrossus Maculatus, the Checkerboard Cichlid. We have Pea Puffers, Fleckos, and B, along with Gardner Eye, and Epistogramma McMaster Eye. In C, we have Neon Tetras, Tiger Barbs, and Angelfish. And in D, alone as the worst community fish of the night, is the beta fish. And this feels right to me. This feels right. I'll have to see what people think of this tier list. I'll post it in my Discord. But yeah, this feels right to me. There's only 1 or 2 ones that I'm feeling a little bit like, I think I'll get eaten up on the pea puffer thing. But I'm willing to take the risk. But all right. I'm gonna skip. Well, no, I can. Okay, I have a little bit more. Let me do this pet food industry thing real quick, because I did want to look at that real quick, because I thought it was interesting. I'm always buying pet foods. Like, the fish gotta eat, the cat gotta eat. Everything's gotta eat. I gotta eat. And you can't eat for free. That's the problem. Once we get to the point where we can eat for free, I feel like we'll progress a lot in society. Like, when I can go and order like off the dollar menu, but it's really the $0 menu, and it's actually not made of pink slime, I think that is when we're truly going to reach, what was it called when it's like a perfect society? I can't think of the name. Utopia. That's when it's going to be a utopia. All right. I'm going to read through this real quick, because I feel like a lot of foods in the fish industry have been coming out. But then when I was reading this, I was like, oh, like, It's like the pet industry in general. So check it out. They are predicting that the pet market is going to increase to 40 billion by 2028. Bro, in 3 years now, they're predicting that it's going to grow by 41 billion. The pet food, bro, it is crazy. Like I can't even like the amount of money that is, and that is just on pet food blows my mind. And look, 33% of the growth originates just from North America. So that includes us and Canada. Um, and look at the key drivers of the market: organic pet food. So see, I know that this organic pet food stuff, the prices are BS. Because I'm reading this, I'm like, okay. So what this is telling me is people have learned if they call their food organic, people will pay like 5 times more on it. All right, all right, fine. So I just want to read a little bit. The global pet food market is witnessing an upward trend with vendors introducing new savory ingredients and pet food lines. Nestle is, we hate Nestle. Nestle is one such example with its Pro Plan Savor Shredded Blend featuring a mix of kibble and tender meat for cats. I think it's weird that the upward trend is vendors introducing savory ingredients. Like, is that not always been a thing? Like, black soldier fly larvae sounds savory to me. Okay, pet owners are increasingly prioritizing the dietary needs of their furry friends. Well, it's about time, leading to a surge in demand for home-cooked food and premium pet products. Okay, I'm not trying to have home-cooked food for my cat at this point in my life. That does sound nice, but are people really? I mean, I guess I am doing home cooked food for my fish, so maybe I need to change how I'm thinking about this. Millennials are driving pet expenditures with their love for pets and concern for health, as we should. Well, actually, I'm Gen Z technically. Body size, oral system health, and specific dietary requirements influence the choice of pet food. Yeah, the pet food is good. Is this literally just like, yeah, pet owners are deciding that they now care more about what their pets are eating for their health? Like, I'm kind of concerned about what the trend was before this. Market trends include stockpiling of pet products, customized and personalized offerings, and obesity prevention. Premium pet food, pet grooming, pet daycare, and pet walking services are popular. I mean, pets are really replacing kids. I'm not complaining, but this is a lot. This is a lot. Now, this is interesting. The challenges for the pet food market. Harmful bacteria transmitted through animals can cause diseases, posing health risks to humans, especially children. Allergies to pets, cats and dogs, are a significant issue. 15 to 30% of allergies are caused by pet dander, saliva, or urine. They can cause all these symptoms. Okay. So people being allergic to cats really is hurting them for the pet food sales. The pet food market has challenges in providing nutrition. My gosh, bro. Where's the fish food analysis? I know this is just general. Okay, ornamental fish with fish options tailored to their specific dietary needs and sizes. So we're going to have like a food for every kind of fish. Tetra. Rasbora. What's our R word for like a food? Okay, I don't think there's anything I eat that starts with R. Pet owners increasing ornamental food. All right, if you want the actual thing in. But I just wanted to read about that real quick because, it's kind of weird to think about how everything is a market, but like, what does the fact that the thing my pet is eating is a commodity, how does that affect the quality of it, and what do I actually need to look out for? So I think it's interesting that the growing demand for organic food is one of the main things boosting it. And my urge for that is to then really investigate how often organic food is better than whatever the non-organic option is, because why are we paying so much where in 3 years it's going to grow $41 billion in 4 years, just off of the fact that people now care more about their pets' health? To me, what that really says is the food companies were like, hey, people care more about their pets' health. Yeah, we gotta crank the prices. We gotta crank the prices up on these things. People care if their pets are obese now. This is crazy. Okay, listen, put the dog jerky in the bag, $20. Put the black soldier fly larva in the pellet. That's gonna be $15 for a 1 ounce container. Or one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite fish foods. Well, not. Now, I won this at a club auction. I didn't buy it. This is egregious. Aquatic Arts premium shrimp snowflake food. Sorry, snowflake premium shrimp food. Look at this. First of all, I just wanna say, how edible does this look to you? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a rabbit enclosure. Like, this looks like some kind of like the pellets they use for the bedding, like in the rabbit. Bro, this is just soy hulls. Now, again, Aquatic Arts is selling this snowflake premium flake food. See this tiny little container? 2 ounces. This is going to blow. I hope you haven't bought this. So 2 ounces, $16, not including shipping, for this. Now, it will last you a long time for shrimp, because these little pellets, when you put them in the water, they expand into little flakes. They go all over the damn place. And it takes forever. You got to be careful feeding these, because they last a while. Now, there's nothing about the ingredients on this can. All it says is it provides essential amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and fiber, blah, blah. This nutritious supplementary food is superb for shrimp and many other omnivorous aquatic vertebrates, blah, blah, blah. First of all, the first warning word in a fish food is supplemental. Because that means it is not providing all the essential things. And you shouldn't be relying on one food to do that. But, like, they're already basically letting you know, hey, this shit is not really that good. Like, don't feed this thing all the time. But the egregious thing about this food is that it is just repackaged soy hulls. Now, soy hulls are literally a byproduct of processing soybeans. And people use them to grow mushrooms. Now, this is a 10-pound bag. This is their small size. 10-pound bag of soy hull pellets. Okay, now look at this. Now look at this. Okay? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And this is 2 ounces. Okay, now let's just Google. How many ounces is 10 pounds? 160 ounces. So you could buy 160 ounces of this for $16 plus shipping. That just blew my mind. Now, of course, if you have one shrimp tank, you would never be able to buy a 10-pound bag of this. It just isn't practical. So, I mean, there's always that. It's like the price you pay for not having a large amount. But it's just one kind of trend I've noticed, like, especially when you're at, like, events with vendors and stuff. A lot of foods are just, like, repackaged byproducts of other things. And you just got to be careful when they're in like a nice little container, like that actually know what it is. This doesn't say anywhere on here what this stuff is, so you would have no way to know, to look up, to be educated on what you're feeding your fish. Now, on the website, it does say that it is soybean hulls, but the thing is, they don't even say that the soybean hulls are like here. They provide a natural growth media for mycelium, so yeah, like the mushrooms and stuff. An ideal vacation food. So they're like their use case is you leave this in the water while you're like gone. It does take forever to go away. Um, I have had people put too much in and pollute the water, so I won't know if that's necessarily true. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. They don't really like it that much. They do like it all right, but I wouldn't personally do it. I wouldn't. Find someone that's growing mushrooms and steal some of their mushroom substrate, and it'll last you years. But all right, that's enough for me yapping around. I don't know why I've been streaming so much. Yo, my bad, my bad. I don't know what happened to the sound. Jim's Fish, what's up? What's up? I accidentally unplugged my freaking microphone somehow. Some of my laptop built-in microphone while I set this back up. Ah! You know, sometimes when I'm moving my hands around when I talk, bad things happen. Like yesterday, I spilled the isopods live. The danger of doing things live, man. What can I say? Real quickly, just want to review. I want to review the tier list. That's what I was looking for. Where's my tier list at? What's that at? We're looking at the soybean pellets. Well, anyways, point is, what was I talking about? Oh, right. I was saying the aquatic isopods with the fish eggs. We read over that paper. I feel like that's showing a lot of promise. I think things like that are going to be very useful. It's kind of felt like scuds and snails are very limiting as cleanup crew as far as having them with smaller fish fry, having them with fish eggs. You cannot trust scuds with almost anything. And again, I'll give the caveat depending on the species, and that's only because some people claim certain species don't do the destructive things scuds have a reputation for. Unfortunately, the reality is that since there's almost no reliable way to predict that the scuds you're getting are going to behave in a community-centered fashion, it's just not really worth the mental energy for me to go through considering, like, do I risk it? So I think the aquatic isopods, like, having them as an option for these kind of situations where you want to clean up crew, but it's a more delicate, it's fish eggs, it's fish fry, or you're just a very paranoid person, or you don't want the other negative things that come with some of the other cleanup members. I think it's nice. And now that Conrad's fish has jumped in and his isopods are massive, that also opens up a much larger list of fish that you can keep them with as well. So, really exciting. Someone left a comment about color morphs, being excited about the isopod color morphs, because I was showing Conrad Fish's black Lyceris color morph, the Aquatic Isopod from Tennessee. And I know of one person that's working on a yellow Aquatic Isopod, and myself, I'm trying to work on getting a more kind of yellow. They have these speckles that are reflective and kind of look gold. Some of them have more than others. So I'm trying, and this other person is also trying to breed out a line of them where it's like the whole body is that shiny kind of yellowish color. So it's so exciting, and they reproduce so quickly that you can get through generations in a short period of time. So I think 2025, like this year, is gonna be the isopod agenda revolution. So anyways, I've yapped enough. Thanks to the people that stopped by. Jim's Fish, I don't know if you were here earlier, if you just came in, but I appreciate you stopping by, letting me know that my sound, I turned off my sound mid yap, and I need to go finish some actual videos because I've been slacking. I think the live streams are fun. It's nice talking to people, like, and engaging in a way that I don't have to edit, but like I still got to make my videos, and I have some cool stuff I've been working on. So I want to do some on some live food cultures, some of the fish I've been breeding. No problem. Have a good night. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to make a video on a fish or something until I've kept it for a while. So there's a lot of stuff that like I've been filming them spawn. I've been filming them like over a long period of time. And now it's just to the point where I feel confident in making a video about it. Like I had the isopods for a while before I made a video. So for instance, like peacock gudgeons, I've had them for a while. Now I've raised up a few batches of fry. That's one that I feel confident in and I've kept them with a lot of different fish. And that would be a S tier community fish for me, honestly. But yep. Okay. Jim's Fish, Miley, Jesse, everyone else to stop by. Appreciate you. I'll catch you next time. Hope you all have a good rest of your evening. And hopefully I'll get some videos done soon. All right. Until next time.